Coming off our first true slate of college football, time is finally here. College football is back, and despite losing an absolute legend of the game, we are in for an awesome season. Join us as we break down our top 6 game and give out our 6 best bets for the college football Week 2 slate. Welcome, football fans, to another edition of the D-Gen Docs here on the DFSG Plus channel. We are talking college football Week 2. Wow, college football is back. Week 0, Week 1. We got our first real taste of true fall Saturdays. We get the NFL this week as well. It's a great time. Football is alive. What is up, folks? I'm one of your hosts here, the D-Gen Doc, and more importantly, I am joined by my brother in degeneracy, Mr. Derek Bennett, a.k.a. Professor Locks. How we doing tonight, brother?
Pretty well. And we're actually recording this on Monday, September 1st. Week 1 hasn't even ended. It's not even over. We still have a great game tonight in UNC TCU.
Right.
Bill Belichick back on Monday Night Football, but
Yeah.
we might as well start talking about Week 2, get ahead of some line movement potentially, and try to beat the bookies, before they start playing their little games.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and this week a little bit different than a typical week. As you can see, all the boxes and shit behind me. I am moving. I'm PCSing this week. I'm relocating. I'll be in Kansas City there. So I'm taking off this week. So we're getting in a little bit early, but that, as Derek mentioned, is always good. I like to jump in these numbers early. So typically we'll be doing these usually on Tuesday, but we're getting you a special Monday night episode to really get you out in front of these lines here. But yeah, it is week 2. We've got a lot to talk about here. We did our week 0 and week 1 picks. Week 0 started off hot, and then week 1 took a little bit of a tipsy turn there. So we've got a lot to get to here. But if you're just joining us for the first time this week, we first say welcome. Cheers to you. Thanks for chopping it up with us. The way we're going to do this here is we have a nice 6-pack we're going to go through. That's our top 6 games for this week. So it's the games that we feel we have the best edge, best value in, what are our best bets for this week. So we're going to break down 6 games. We'll give out a lock, a money line dog, and either a parlay or a teaser at the end. All games, all bets are assumed 1 unit unless otherwise, except for the lock will be 2 units, therefore making it the lock there. But for this episode, look, we're going to talk about some takeaways from week 0, week 1, and we're going to talk about, early in the season, what power ranking adjustments, what adjustments are you making? Because in this era of transfer portal NIL, as you can see from week 1, the teams are not the same year to year. This is not the NFL. College football is ever changing.
Yeah.
So why don't we start with this? Why don't we just get with the college football gods and realize it's Lee Corso's last game? We could have just tailed him.
No shit, dude. I mean, the guy's an absolute legend. Just before this weekend, obviously, the amount of time and effort and entertainment that he has put into and provided for college football fans like us and everybody else is absolutely incredible. I mean, it's going to be unmatched. But then to go out and on the 50-yard line in Ohio Stadium in the shoe, picking 6-8 games for this weekend, nailing every single one of them. All of the teams that he coached or played for also won. Absolutely amazing output for him. And I hope that he now has a new retirement gig and is still picking games and then just calling me, send me over an email. I'll pay him a little bit to get me some winners.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Lee Corso, it's funny, my last couple of years, he's been a little bit up and down, but you can't not be romantic about college football. The man, it's just straight college football magic. The man just absolutely annihilated the slate on his way out. Like you mentioned, all his teams won. He picked, this wasn't just picking a bunch of minus 500 favorites. He picked 3 straight up dogs, including Florida State, who we'll get to, with probably the biggest upset of the week, of the early part of the season. So shout out to you, Lee Corso, for everything you've done for the game and maybe being a tout here in your near future. But solid slate for him. But hey, let's talk some overall quick takeaways here. And I
Yeah,
think a lot of what we're gonna have to do from this week one really is like we were even talking about this offline. Are these teams good, or are there teams that are playing bad? We
right.
saw a lot of defense ahead of offense.
For
Where
sure.
are you at as far as those things heading into week two? Not wanting to overreact, but still wanting to, adjust some things.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the main things that we learned pretty quickly, especially in those big games, we had what 8 teams in the top 10 or 9 teams in the top 10 breaking in a new quarterback.
Yep.
Not necessarily freshman quarterback, just younger quarterbacks that haven't made very many starts, like
Inexperienced. Yeah.
Carr, Simpson down there in Alabama. Like all of those guys went on the road, and all of them, for the most part, shit the bed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? Don't trust young QBs on the road. We fell into this a little bit here, despite all the, whether it's Arch Manning or,
Yeah.
Ty Simpson, all the prospects, the stars that come with their names, there's something that can be said about having experience, not just playing games, but especially in hostile environment.
Yeah,
You talked about Arch going into the shoe, CJ Carr, who I actually think did the best at all of them,
yeah, definitely.
going into the Hard Rock, and then Ty Simpson going into Doak Campbell Stadium there.
True.
Yeah, it's tough, to trust a young quarterback on the road here. So moving forward, I think it's something that is kind of a test of time. Sometimes you kind of get a little bit wrapped up into it, but
Yeah,
definitely,
and I think it's one of those things that like all 3 of those guys, week 4, week 5, are probably going to be dudes. It's
right.
just making your first start in the shoe or Indo Campbell. Like those are historic venues, and it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a 5-star guy that's been there for a year or two or not, like you're gonna have your ups and downs. And in this week, it was a lot of downs
Yeah.
for all of those guys.
No, absolutely. So shout out to college football and the fans, and really those, like, that's what makes college football is
Oh yeah,
the home stadiums, the home environments, the
yeah,
crowds, the pageantry, all
for
of
sure.
that we love, and they really brought it. And you
Yeah,
saw it week one, which I think someone said this, but respect to those teams. This is 3 top 10 matchups in week one. Can't remember the last time we've had this load of a slate. I mean, a lot of
yeah,
these teams
and they
out of
and they
conference,
yeah,
so they're
and
taking risks.
they lived up to the bill. Like they were highly touted matchups, and for the most part, all 3 of those and a lot of others were really competitive
Right.
games that came down to a fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So outside of the Alabama game, which I don't know who besides Lee Corso was expecting Florida State to go toe to toe and really blow out Alabama.
Yeah.
I all of the other games that I was looking forward to watching in week one really came down to a fourth quarter stop or, at least late game heroics. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess you could say.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a blast. All right. Takeaway number 2, I think, we've always talked about this, but
Yeah.
preseason rankings do not mean shit, right? I mean, obviously it's very objective thing, mostly like ESPN. You see a lot of SEC bias, which I'm a
Yep.
Gators guy. I like, my teams in the SEC. I'm not one of those like SEC homers. I think that's weird.
Sure.
You root for your rivals, but really like even from week 0, Kansas State took the L to Iowa State. Boise State got embarrassed in week 1 by South Florida. Number 1 Texas goes down. Number 4 Clemson goes down. Number 8
Yep.
Alabama goes down. Like, these rankings really are just should not be taken for anything. Which most people do typically understand, but definitely this week it showed. Like, I think every kind of matchup where the lower ranking was going against the higher one, the lower ranking or lower ranked team won.
Right.
So yeah, that's definitely another one. And then, man, it's a new era of college football. It is not the college football of, hey, buy your time, wait your seat 2 years on Round Pine,
Right.
learn from your elders, and then hey, junior senior year, you have a chance and
Uh-huh.
opportunity. These guys are leaving left and right to go get opportunities, change to different schools. So
Yep.
so many of these teams, like a Florida State, like a West Virginia, where they're just all transfers.
Yep.
Miami has a lot of guys coming in and out. You just really don't know what they're going to look like, and they can change in
Yeah.
a
Yeah. I
flash.
mean that LSU defense, holy
Right.
smoke, was that night and day from last year. I mean, they really put it to Clemson's offense, and even teams that, are just not very good the year before. Last year we had Indiana. I
Yeah.
mean, I picked a Maryland team to have its over, and they look pretty damn good. I mean, Malik
Yeah, that
Washington came out
quarterback.
and balled out.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's one of those things that, like, a bottom team, a bottom feeder for years, like an Indiana, like a Vanderbilt last year, like teams are going to come out of the woodwork and make some noise in this season as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's on one hand, it makes it a little bit harder to pick and
Oh
to kind of
yeah.
predict what's going to happen. Week
Oh
one
yeah.
is a bit harder, but it definitely keeps it very exciting. It keeps fan bases engaged.
Good for the game, but at the same
Exactly.
time, for us as bettors, it is a nightmare. One,
Yeah,
just tracking where guys are,
right.
preparing this and trying to figure out, hey, so and so has been on 5 teams already in in college. It's like, I don't know what jersey they're wearing. Who
Yeah.
knows?
136 teams with a ton of movement. So would
Yeah,
like to see it get cleaned up a little bit there. Maybe some restrictions of you get
sure.
one freebie and then you got to sit out a year after that.
Right.
Because it does get a little bit ridiculous, but it definitely keeps the game exciting. All right. So now we're moving on to our power ranking adjustments here. So early on, we're going to do this. What teams impressed you enough to move them up in your power rankings? And then
Yeah.
on the flip side, who, disappointed, just absolutely shit the bed, and you are kind of out on, or at least making them lower down your rankings there. So I'll let you start off with, why don't we start with the teams that impressed you this past week?
Yeah. You want to flash my graphic up there? I forgot to write these down besides that. So,
Yes, I've got you.
um, a few of the teams that I was impressed with was LSU, Nebraska up against Cincy. I believe that was on Thursday night
Right.
leading into it. And then Navy really took it to I can't remember who they
Oh,
walloped
here,
on.
I'll look it up for you. Yeah,
Um,
it was
anyways,
nobody big, I don't think.
yeah, I was just impressed that they threw the ball more than 5 times and, completed
Horvath is
all of
good.
them but 1, I believe. But LSU was the big one. I mean, LSU's defense has been horrific over the last 2 or 3 years, and they brought in a boatload of guys through the transfer portal. I'm sure they had some guys just, grow into their starting spots as well, but LSU's defense held Clemson to,
10
what,
points.
10 points? Yeah, I
None
mean,
out, zero after halftime.
yeah, I mean, they absolutely shut out Klubnik. Like,
I don't
he
think they
couldn't
did
do.
that all last year.
Yeah, exactly. He couldn't do anything. And, I think that's where, like, this LSU team, to me, definitely took a major step forward this offseason just by supplying Garrett Nussmeier and that offense with a competent defense and
Yeah.
probably more like, a top 15, potentially top 10 defense that they could really use going through that SEC gauntlet and most likely, you know, uh, have a real chance at making the CFP and making some noise.
Yeah, I mean, hey, they were already a preseason favorite for making the playoffs. Doing some damage there. Yeah, that defense was the key thing. Where that was what the questions were. That's
Right.
why we kind of were on the Clemson side. There was a lot of question marks on that defense. They finally figured out what to do with Harold Perkins after him, being
Yep.
a stud his freshman year and then kind of being a nobody this last 2 years. I know he dealt with
Right.
injuries, but that was a lot of like, what are the coaches doing with him? He was unleashed. They looked
Yep.
good. Now, I think that was a huge thing. Nebraska as well, good win. Navy, I think you're just slighting me there as an Army guy, but no, I think Navy's gonna be.
VMI is a tough opponent there, and
Yeah,
I mean
sure,
to put up
VMI is.
over 50 points, Navy doesn't do that too often. So
Yeah, I mean, hey, dude, I do think Navy is gonna be good. There's a reason I did not give out the Army over this year and was all about it last year.
yeah,
Coming off the Bryson Daly train, that's gonna be tough. But no, I would agree with you there. I think all those teams impressed. For me, on who I'm raising the stock on here, Iowa State, man.
yeah,
Holy shit.
oh
I
yeah,
was I was on Iowa State. I was on them. I took their over on the season preview we did. That was
you
one of my
did,
locks I gave out.
yep,
I have a bet on them to win the Big 12 at 10-1, but my goodness, man. Not only going to Dublin, getting the win
it was
against
solid.
K-State, very respectable. And then South Dakota is a fairly good FCS program. Like,
Yeah,
they're not
really good
quite as
FC
good
program.
as North Dakota State and South Dakota State, but they're right there
Right.
at that level, a little bit below. They're a solid program, and they
Yep.
just absolutely beat the living shit out of them. So very impressed by Iowa State, to the point that, again, I've already been on this team, but I'm looking at them at plus 490 over on FanDuel to make the playoff. I think there's value there. 55-7 win. Now we're going to be talking about this team. They've got a very big game coming up this week, one of the biggest games on the slate. So, but yeah, no, Iowa State, I was super impressed with. You got a team that great head coach in Matt Campbell, very disciplined team. You've got a competent quarterback who's experienced in Rocco Beck, and a very balanced offense. So I will be playing, putting some down on them to make the CFP at plus 490. The next two teams, I put them together because I'm going to say it really quick. Look, I'm a Florida Gator guy. I'm a Gator alum. This is tough for me to say, but FSU and Miami, two of the most impressive teams this week. As far as where they're coming from, Florida State especially, coming off a 2-10 year, bringing in all those transfers, those mercenaries, as I call them. Tommy Castellanos, he was talking all this shit, and he backed it up. I mean, for his credit, he talked the talk, and he absolutely walked the walk. Now, I'm not ready to say that FSU is world beaters, but they're clearly going to be a competent team. Gus Malzahn and that run scheme, I think, is he's kind of Alabama's kryptonite. But they're very much going to be a competent team and now have to be looked at as a serious contender in the ACC. And then same thing with Miami. That's a very impressive win against Notre Dame. We both like Notre Dame this year. I think CJ Carr actually, he looked a bit shaky at first, but he kind of played pretty well down the stretch. So for them to, Cristobal almost Cristobal, and he got super conservative, and we almost got that game, with Notre Dame tying it late and having all the momentum. But they got a favorable pass interference, and Carson Beck, for his credit, did well. I will say, I still have my questions with Carson Beck. That amazing catch that probably should have been an interception, right? We could talk about, the Notre Dame play call to do that stupid bubble screen on 2nd and 1, but the interception literally kicked off a guy's foot while he was in midair. Like they had some luck there. I will say that they looked like the better team for most of the game, but let's not forget, like, those two plays go differently, and that's a completely different ballgame.
No doubt.
But I've got to give FSU and Miami their credit, and that's as much nice as I'm going to talk about them. But they did deserve it, even from a Gator myself. Objectively, you have to put them there. And then Utah. Utah is a team that I love every year. They play well on both sides of the line of scrimmage. They're well coached in Whittingham.
And now they have a quarterback that's on the field.
Yep, and he's dynamic. And Dampierre, and he's can do it with his arm. He can do it with his legs. I don't think either of us were thinking that UCLA were world beaters this year, but that's a damn impressive, conference victory on the road to go in there and just beat the ever-living shit out of UCLA. Utah plus 310 right now over on FanDuel to make the college football playoff is another one I will be sliding in there to get some exposure there. They're also like plus 450, plus 460 win the Big 12. I've kind of got Iowa State already there, so I'm going to just play them kind of both to make the CFP, because I think the Big 12, especially those two teams, I think they're good enough that they can get two teams in there, and we see with the SEC this year. So, those are the two bets that I'm going to be kind of adding for the futures market. But yeah, those are my three teams that really impressed me enough that, hey, I think they're trending up there. All right, let's go the other way.
Mm-hmm.
What teams for you were, not that you're maybe completely out on, or maybe you are, but you're at least downgrading them and where you were in the preseason? So there you are.
There we go. Alabama. I picked them to win the SEC, and a couple days ago, they did not look like SEC champs to me. I mean, they didn't even look like a team that could necessarily finish in the top 15, top 20. So I don't know what Kalen DeBoer is doing down there, but
he's got to figure it out.
He's got to figure something out real fast, or he's going to be ran out of town tomorrow.
Yep.
The Notre Dame trenches, like they on defense, they sacked Carson Beck one time. Jeez. And on offense, they had 94 yards of rushing. Like, when was the last time? Exactly. I mean, when was the last time you would think of Notre Dame rushing for 94 yards, especially when they have the best running back in the nation?
They got the best tandem, I think, in and Love there, and they barely gave him any carries.
Exactly. I mean, Jadrian Price had 6 carries. Jeremiah Love had 10. CJ Carr had 11 carries
Yeah, he's
for
not
16
Riley
yards.
Leonard.
Exactly. So I don't know necessarily what was up with the play calling. I don't know why.
Yep.
You know, yes, you're averaging like 3.3 yards a carry, but the last time I checked, 3.3 yards a carry over three downs. That's basically a first down. So I don't know necessarily why they didn't stick with the running game, especially when
Yeah.
going into the season everybody expected that to be their strong point.
And you've
And
got a young
then,
quarterback. I mean, on the road, you
yep,
can't throw him out there to the wolves. Stop doing all these damn bubble screams and give them to your running backs. Yeah, but
yep,
great point with Notre Dame. It's not one I had as far as the trenches and their play calling. That was, yeah, not as good
yeah.
as we expected.
Yeah, and then what is your Army Knights doing?
I
Losing to
told
Tarleton,
you. Look, I don't want to say anything bad about the
losing
Black
the
Knights.
FCS Tarleton. Come on
Tarleton
now.
State. Yeah, no, that was bad.
Yeah, Tarleton State.
Full transparency, I was coming back from Italy, so I couldn't even watch the game, but I saw the highlights there. I think it was Friday night.
Yeah,
Look, Bryson Daly, I thought he was
quarterback.
almost a Heisman candidate last year, and he was basically the whole team. I hate to say that, but he was the leading rusher. He, had almost as many rushing touchdowns as anybody in the country last year.
Yep.
And he's hard to replace. And the guy, he's a quarterback now. I forget his name. I think it's Dwayne Carter or something like that.
Sounds
They
right.
let him throw the ball too much. He's got 2 interceptions. Should never have that at Army. And the kicker, I think, missed like 3 kicks inside of 30. So
Yep.
yeah, I mean, not what you want to see. Jeff Monken, that he's a good coach. That should be a fairly quality team. It's the team that won the American last year, first year
Have
in it.
have you gotten a phone call? You still have all your eligibility left.
That's true.
You could kick a 30.
I'll let it
I
know. I'll have to dust
I
some
have
things
confidence
off
in
there.
you.
But no, that was look, man. I knew it was going to be a down year. I did not expect losing to FCS Tarleton State, but we'll see. They go to K State. Hopefully, they turn around a little bit and at least put up a performance because K State is looking a little bit liable too.
Yes, they are.
We're not going to really talk about
Yeah.
them, but feel good about their under right about now. All right, my teams here. Some similarities for you from yours. Alabama. We were talking, but watching that game, I have to now completely rewire my brain
Yeah.
on what I thought Alabama football
Yeah,
was.
I mean, outside of that first drive, that looked like Alabama.
Right. That first drive, they were running the ball effectively. They were pushing people around. Ty Simpson was making good reads.
Yep.
You have 2 great wide receivers in Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard there.
Yep.
Holy shit. They were undisciplined. They were lazy. They lacked physicality. They had 0 sense of identity.
Yep.
It was a shame.
Yep.
Legitimately, I have to rewire my brain. Like, this is not even close to the Alabama that we are used to. They have all the talent
I
and the
know.
stars in the world, but clearly Saban was a mastermind. Clearly, we knew he was a good coach, but I think this is showing you just how good of a coach he was. Now, yes, the NIL allows for more talent, to be more equitable and things like that. So it's
Around, yep.
not all the coaching, but golly, they still got all the 5 stars you would want in the world.
Yep.
And they got bullied. Their defense is incredibly soft. Their line of scrimmage, their trenches are atrocious. Like, Ryan Williams was throwing it, pouting and dropping the ball. Like, it was disgusting to watch. And I hate that it came at the hands of Florida State, but Florida State exposed the shit out of Alabama.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Alabama, absolutely disgraceful what they did.
Before they get into SEC play, like the Knowles coming in, or them going into Florida State and the Knowles putting it to them might be the coming to Jesus moment that I'm hoping for. Taking them to be the SEC champs, but
Yeah.
oh man,
Thankfully, obviously last week we were a little bit on them, but
yeah,
I'm not on them for anything preseason. But wow, I just that was eye opening for me.
yeah.
We'll see. Like you said, I mean, they have the talent,
Oh
but
yeah,
they were walking. They were lazy. Like, they didn't want to be there. It was incredible. I've never seen obviously for where we've done most of our college football watching lives, has been the Saban era. I
yeah.
just can't remember a time I've seen Alabama look that bad. So them. Boise State, did not think Boise State was going to be an amazing team this year. Coming off losing Gene T, I think that was huge, but they got embarrassed by another Florida team in USF there.
Yes, they did.
They absolutely, took it to them. I'm trying to. Oh, I have to see where I'm at here. What was the score? It was 34-7.
Yep.
Got absolutely embarrassed
Yep.
down there in South Florida.
Mhm.
And I think USF is a decent team. My Gators will be seeing them here this week. But wow, I mean, they looked bad. So the Mountain West wide open. I think so. Going forward, I don't think Boise State is
Yeah,
going to have that
that
chokehold.
and that fifth spot in the CFP is now wide open. I mean,
That group
Boise
of
State
five.
was
Yeah.
the group of 5 spot is wide open. Boise State was a heavy favorite to grab that once again.
Yeah, that's a great point. So, teams like UNLV, teams like Tulane, who looked
Yep.
really good.
Yep.
UTSA, despite losing, played Texas A&M pretty damn well.
Yep.
So that could be a fun one that we may want to look into as far as the betting markets of who can make that there for one of those long shots.
Mhm.
And then Clemson, you kind of mentioned it with talking about LSU. But LSU's defense might be better, but man, that offense to be at home and put up 0 points in the second half against look, maybe LSU's defense is better, but I don't. They were terrible with
Yeah.
a lot of the same guys last year. So it's like,
Yep.
I mean, it's hard for me to believe that they've are suddenly world beaters. I can absolutely say they've taken a step forward. They're a better team, but
Yep.
some of that is the offensive play calling. I think I saw they only ran the ball like eight or nine times with their running backs. They just got away from the run there. Like that was very piss poor. The play calling there with you know is it? I think it's Lincoln Riley's brother or cousin or who's up there. The play caller there for them is
I'm not sure.
evading me now, but that offense, man, you're supposed to have Clay Klubnik and those wide receivers who they're a year older. They were
Yep.
all freshmen last year. They're supposed to be
Right.
that much better,
Yep.
and that was extremely disappointing at home.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, yes, they lost Maffa, who's a pretty good running back over the
right,
last couple of years, but like you have a what now 3rd year starting quarterback in Cade Klubnik. Like
yeah,
you should not necessarily have to rely on the running game. You should be able to give the ball to your Heisman hopeful and really just put it down LSU's throat. But
yep.
that was not what happened at all.
Yeah, and that's Garrett Riley there,
Yeah.
offense coordinator for Clemson. Yeah, Klubnik 19 of 38 for 230 and 1 interception. Yeah, their leading rusher 5 carries for 16 yards. I mean, what are you doing? Like, you have some identity. Yeah, that was bad. I mean, I don't. I would say Clemson was our national champion picks for both of us.
Yeah.
Um, they're lucky they're in the ACC because they should probably going to still have an easy schedule and still get their way into the playoff like they
Yep.
did last year. They're
Yep.
still super talented, but man, that was disappointing, especially at home, in a chance to really kind of cement yourselves in college football, and they kind of shit the bed there. So, all right, those are our adjustments moving forward. Now we're looking out of the rear view. We're moving forward into college football week 2. We're going
Two.
to break down our 6 games on the slate, give out our best bets, and then, we'll finish up with our lock, dog, and tease, and maybe a little DGen parlay for y'all. Let's get into it. Let's get into this first game on the slate. We are heading to Saturday. All these games will be on Saturday here. This is at noon Eastern time. We are getting Illinois heading over to Duke to take on those Blue Devils there over in Raleigh. And wow, wait, not Raleigh. I know that's not right. It
Hmm?
doesn't sound right. Where's Duke at now?
You asked me too quick.
I know, typical. No,
Durham?
no, Durham, right?
Durham.
Yeah, I'm like that does not sound right. Raleigh's North Carolina or NC State. So,
Yep.
Illinois heading over to Duke, both 1-0, and we've got Illinois has road favorites -3, -155 on the money line, over under sitting at 50.5.
Yep.
Duke catching 3 as home dogs, +130 on the money line there. I'll start with you, my friend. How do you see this game playing out? Illinois coming as the number 12 team ranked in the country.
Yep. Yeah. I mean,
Where are you at?
Duke tends to be a tricky place to play, but I got the Illini in this one, -3. I think it's just one of those things that, like, when you bring back literally your entire offense, that's scary. Whether you're a
Yeah.
top team or not the year before, like they bring back all 5 offensive linemen. You bring back Luke Altmaier. You bring back, I believe, at least your top rusher from the year before, if not a couple of guys. Your top 2 wide receivers, your top tight end. Like Illinois is the same team, and they really put it to what was Western Illinois or Western something
Yeah, they
last
both
week.
played nobodies.
Um,
I mean,
and yeah, I think it's just one of those things that like until proven otherwise, like Illinois is going to give people problems just because of the continuity that they have. We talked about it earlier, how college football, you're piecemealing a lot of your offense and defense in most cases with how many guys enter the transfer portal, and people are shifting around like gangbusters, but not at Illinois. I mean, Bielema just brought all of those guys back defensively. I think they have like 6 or 7 returning starters as well. So like, I mean, Duke, like I said, tricky place to play. They have a fair team, but basically as a pick 'em, like yeah, give me Illini.
okay. Yeah. I'm gonna go the other way here. Give me Duke,
Ooh.
the home dog. Give me Duke +3, -110 over at Bet365. Yeah, I mean, look, I like Illinois as a team. I like Bielema. I like what he's doing. Both these teams played. They played Western Illinois, beat them 52-3. Duke played Elon and crushed them. I don't think you can glean a whole lot from that. But
Yep.
very similar teams last year.
Yep.
Both 9-3. Now, I think the biggest difference is this is in Durham, North Carolina, right? So, look, this is at Wallace Wade Stadium. Hey, I see tickets as low as $22. So, hey, Duke fans, I know I apologize for the mess up, but I need you guys to pack that stadium because this Duke Blue Devil team was 5-1 at home last year with only a 1-point loss in overtime against SMU, a game they absolutely should have won. And I think this is a better Duke team than last year because they upgraded the quarterback position. I think Menza coming over from Tulane is a huge upgrade over Malik Murphy. We saw what Malik Murphy just did at Oregon State. He just got his shit knocked in by Cal. They got obliterated. Where Menza, I think, coming at Tulane, he was a high quality starter there. So I think they got to upgrade. They got 13 returning starters, including 4 on the offensive line. I do like both these teams, kind of like season wise, going in the year. But I don't think you can give Duke 3 points here. I think this is going to be a very close game. I think, if anything, this is under a field goal game. This is going to be very tight. So give me the home team there and Duke, again, +3, -110 over at Bet365.
Yeah. Now, I mean, if they were able to move this inside of Cameron and the Cameron Crazies started to get that home field advantage, sure. I don't know if the Cameron Crazies necessarily like outdoors, and I mean Duke is becoming a little bit more
Dude, I mean,
a football school, if you will. But yeah, I just don't know if Luke Altmaier is going to be stopped this week.
hey, look, Duke student section, student fans, whatever you need to do, clip that. Use Derek as bulletin board material. Get your ass in Wallace Wade Stadium over there in Durham, North Carolina. But no, I think they've got a decent home environment. With Riley
They
Leonard,
do.
now Manny Diaz in the second year.
Yep.
They've quality 9-3 team last year. So
Yep.
I think a lot of people are sleeping on Duke. So give me Duke there. But this will be a tight one. I'm very interested in this game. I think it's going to be a really good game that not a lot of people are talking about yet. Now a game that probably everyone's talking about. We've got a big one here. Iowa at
CyHawk
Iowa
week.
State over in Ames, Iowa there. 2 teams, 1-0. Iowa not ranked yet. We'll see if they are at this next one, but Iowa State coming in at 22. I expect them to be higher. Iowa State 2-0, Iowa 1-0. This is a big game here. This is a rivalry. 2 teams that hate each other, which means the football is going to be that much better. Which way are you going in this one?
Yeah, I mean, this was a team that you were pretty high on going into the season. I mean, I was high on them last year. I was actually kind of wishy-washy a little bit on them this year, even though they brought in a quality quarterback for once out there in Iowa. But give me the clones in this one. Give me Iowa State. I think Rocco Becht and Matt Campbell have really just played really, really well up until this point, and I just think that they're going to be a little bit too much for Iowa. I think I talked about their quarterback a little bit. He struggled a little bit in that first half. Finally, he got things going in the second half, and they ended up blowing out
Albany, I believe they
Albany.
played.
Yes, it was Albany. Yeah, I mean, Iowa State has played 2 games. They're ready to roll. They've already been tested once. I think they're just a little bit more prepared as a group, as a team at this point, just because they've played a couple of games. They had to make that trip over to Dublin to play K State. So yeah, give me the Cyclones.
Yeah. Hey, look, I'm not going to talk you off of that there. Iowa State -3 over at bet 365. I think I was so excited about this little CyHawk series. I didn't even say, but Iowa catching 3 on the road, -105 there, +130 on the money line, and then Iowa State -3, -115 over on DraftKings.
Yep.
Forgot to say this at the top. I said it last week, but we're doing all these initial lines are straight from DraftKings, and then based on our picks, we'll shop around and give you the best bets or best numbers that we can find because
Yeah.
that's what we're betting. Obviously, you want to shop around there. Over under sitting at 41.5, and that's where I'm going. I think in this rivalry game, they're always tight.
Yep.
Anything a field goal, a little bit over a field goal, kind of worries me. So as much as I do really like Iowa State, I'm just going to go on the under. And you talked about it. You know, they brought in Mark Gronowski there, coming
Yeah.
over from the FCS level, won a couple of national championships down at that level. 8 for 15, 1 touchdown, and 44 passing yards last week against Albany. Something about that Iowa Hawkeyes jersey just doesn't mean we're going to throw for a lot of yards. And
Yep.
I think these are 2 teams that are very familiar with each other. And that means give me the under. Under 41.5 there, -110 over on Bet 365. So 5-1 on the under in the last 6 games with an average score of 28.2 points. Again, these teams know each other very well. They're both very disciplined teams
Yep.
with very good defenses and are going to be, conservative. They're going to play field position. They don't mind punting the ball. Like they don't need to have these big flashy plays. So I think if I had to pick a side, I probably would be on the Iowa State side, but I feel much better about the under in this game.
Yep.
Under 41.5, which I would get it now. It's already kind of going down. I think it opened at 42.5. So I would, again, another reason why we like to do this early, because if you feel this good about it, it's probably best you just go ahead and bet it now. But going to be a great one. We'll see. Matt Campbell, he kind of, Ferentz has had his number. He got him last year
Yep.
in Iowa City. So now at home, yeah, I really like Iowa State, but I'm just going to play the under here. But I do not mind your Iowa State play at all. All right, moving on. We are still at the Saturday, September 6th, 12 p.m. slate here. We've got one more game in this time slot to talk about. That is the UConn Huskies taking on Syracuse up in the Carrier Dome there. UConn catching 7 as a
Mhm.
road dog there, plus 225 on the money line. Over under sitting at 58.5, and Syracuse laying 7, -278 on the money line. Who do you got in this one? A little Northeast football rivalry. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, talk about a stadium that sometimes can get a little bit of a home field advantage in the Carrier Dome. I mean,
Yeah.
the Orange, they can pack that place,
Yep.
but I think I have to take the Huskies and UConn in this one. I mean, Syracuse put up some decent points against Tennessee. They put up 26 last week. I just don't think Tennessee's that good, to be honest with you. I think offensively, there's the way that Heupel runs his offense, like they're gonna give a lot of teams problems, which also tells me that Syracuse's defense isn't very good. UConn put up 59 points. I mean, yes, it was Connecticut Central State or something like that, but
Yep. The Blue Devils.
um, yes. But Fagnano had, he got some things going, threw for 3 touchdowns. UConn has started to really develop a decent football team up there, and I think 7 points is just too much to give them going up against the Syracuse Orange.
Yeah. I love UConn in this
Yeah,
one. I love UConn. Bet it now. It's already going down. I think it opened at like 7.5, 8. We're getting it here at 7. We're at Bet 365, -110. Look, you mentioned it.
yeah,
Syracuse, Tennessee, both teams I was kind of down on this year. Neither we were really super high on. Had to replace a lot, a lot of kind of give and go. and they still kind of got their butt whooped there in what was a quote unquote neutral site game. Now
Yep.
they come back home, and now this was only a 7-point game last year with a
Mhm.
much better Syracuse team.
Yeah.
Syracuse is replacing their top quarterback,
McCord.
in Kyle Hanna McCord, running back and LaQuint Allen, who's a stud, and then their top like 3 targets in Gadsden, Pena, and then a couple of those other guys there. So they're replacing a ton. They got 11 returning starters, but I don't think it's going to be enough. You got Jim Moore in year 4, and they are like, man, they bring back their top quarterback, their top running back, their top wide receiver. Like, this is kind of the opposite, right? We talked about
Yep.
the continuity piece. I really like what Jim Moore is doing there. So we'll talk about it a little bit later, hint, hint. But I love UConn in this spot. I think giving them a touchdown is crazy. I would absolutely sprinkle some on the money line as well. I really think that UConn has a good shot to go 2-0, and like, could UConn, steal that last spot in the CFP and kind of do
Ooh.
something there? So we'll see. But I am pretty damn high on UConn this year. So I like UConn catching the 7 points up there. Yeah. All right. We are now moving on to the 3:30 slate. We're going to move on over to the SEC. We're talking about a little rivalry here in Ole Miss and Kentucky. Both teams 1-0. Ole Miss coming in at number 21 as of right now before the rankings come out for this week.
Yep.
Ole Miss is catching 10, or excuse me, they're laying 10 points on the road. Over under sitting at 51.5. Kentucky catching 10 points as a home dog, plus 295 on the money line. Ole Miss is laying, they're minus 375 on the money line the other way. Where are you going in this one?
Give me Kiffin and Ole Miss in this one. I mean, Calzada's what, a 9th-year quarterback and threw for
Yeah.
85 yards last week in a pick. He was 10 of 23 for the Wildcats in Kentucky. Like, Ole Miss's offense is going to put up some points against this Kentucky defense. I'm afraid. I mean, Toledo ended up beating their butts 24-16 last week. I mean, Toledo is a pretty good MAC program, but they should not necessarily be beating Kentucky.
Well, Kentucky did win. So
They did win. You're right. But
yeah, but it
still,
was a battle. It
an
was a barn burner.
8-point game to Toledo, like, you should not necessarily be in that game. So
Right.
yeah, give me Ole Miss and the Fighting Lane Kiffins.
Yeah, no, I'm right there. Give me the Rebels, laying the 10. Now, I know this is dangerous. I know Stoops has kind of had Kiffin's number, but I think that's going to play into this here.
Yeah.
Ole Miss, a team that was destined for the CFP with Jackson Dart, great quarterback for now my New York Football Giants.
Yeah.
But hey, Ole Miss lost a shocker at home, 17-20 last year. So I think this is a little bit of a revenge spot here. I think they realized that, like, they kind of got caught sleeping last year. I think
Yep.
Kiffin's going to be very easy to rally them. And yeah, you talked about it. Kentucky and Zach Calzada and Stoops were in a battle with Toledo. And Toledo, we do like some MAC schools. Some are better than others. They're not a bad MAC school,
No.
but on the road, Toledo put up a damn good fight, and I think Ole Miss is much more talented. They obviously
Yep.
talented from a stars level, but I like their quarterback Austin Simmons. I think he's a legit solid player. If you go back last year and you watch that Georgia game where Ole Miss beat Georgia, Jackson Dart got knocked out early in that game, and Simmons kind of came in, steadied the waters a little bit until he was ready to come back, led him on a touchdown drive, kind of got that comeback going. So he's someone who can produce against SEC caliber players. So I really like him. The quarterback, like, even if you just look at these quarterbacks like Simmons versus Calzada, I think it's a huge, huge difference. So Kiffin can get a little bit cute. He likes to take things personally, run scores up. So I know it's a double-digit number. It's a little bit big, but I think it's only going to get bigger. So I'm betting it now at the -10 there. Minus 110 over at Bet365. So both back in the Rebels there. Now we've got our final 2 games on the slate here. Heading on, sticking in that 3:30 p.m. window on Saturday. Another rivalry game here, one that I'm going to get a lot closer to. We've got the border war here. Kansas Jayhawks heading over to Columbia, Missouri to take on the Missouri Tigers. We've got Kansas catching 6 points as road dogs there, plus 185 on the money line. And then over-under sitting at 50.5. And then Mizzou is laying 6 at home, minus 218 on the money line. This is a game that has not been played since 2011, so a
Woo!
renewal of this rivalry. So fans, I was there. I think it was what? I was in Kansas City for like 3 days, talking
Yeah.
to some people looking for a house. Wife was looking for a job. And the amount of people I talked to about like this game, just
Yep.
randomly talking football, college football, and they were bringing
Yep.
up like it matters to the people of Kansas and Missouri. So this is going to be a fun, intense rivalry. Where are you going in this one?
Yeah, I mean, kind of to my point earlier with the Cyclones, like Kansas has already played 2 games and they've looked really, really good in both of them. I mean, Fresno State in week 0 winning 31-7. The way that they did, Jalen Daniels, not
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels, Jalen Daniels looks like an absolute superstar at
All right.
quarterback. Yeah, give me the Jayhawks laying the points. Or no,
Catching.
catching the points. Catching the points. My
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm right there with you, lockstep. Give me the Jayhawks +6. I think this is another one you sprinkle on the money line there. They're +185 over at Bet365. But yeah, I think wrong team favored almost. I understand it's in Columbia, it's at Mizzou, so
Yeah.
maybe
This
whatever. But
this should be a pick 'em to
right.
me.
I don't. I mean, not 6, not almost a
Yeah.
touchdown. If you get a field goal, maybe, but
Yep.
no way. I mean, Jalen Daniels. He looks like the Jalen Daniels that we thought we saw in his kind of freshman sophomore year. There,
Yep.
obviously was dealing with the back injury last year, and it was a little bit off the wayside, but he's kind of back. And they played. Last week they played just kind of a cupcake, but week 0 they played Fresno State, beat them 31-7. And then
Yep.
Fresno State goes out and destroys Georgia Southern by like 30 points.
Right.
So Fresno State's not a bad team. And Mizzou, on the other hand, they played an absolute cupcake. I think Central Arkansas.
Central Arkansas.
Nothing you can take away from that. And they're replacing their
Hey,
RB1 and 2.
the Central Arkansas Bears have a good program.
They keep a good program.
They keep a good program.
Well, maybe they didn't show up on Saturday because they looked like dog shit. So, but no, Mizzou's replacing their RB1 and 2, their QB1 and 2, their wide receivers 1, 2, and 4 as far as returning production.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to turn over for Drinkowitz, and I think this team can be a little bit
Yep.
counterfeit. So I really like Kansas in this one. It's a rivalry game. If you're giving me 6 points in something that at best we think is kind of a pick 'em, yeah, I don't think Mizzou's home crowd environment is worth that many points. So give me Kansas there. I'd like for some Kansas fans to show up. Again, it's not that far of a drive from Lawrence to Columbia. So I think with this game, especially renewing this rivalry for the first time in 16, 15 years or something like that. So I think that it's going to be a really cool environment. Another game I'm super excited to see. So we're agreeing a lot here. We've got one more game. We'll see if we continue to agree here. That game is Saturday, September 6th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. West Virginia Mountaineers taking on the Ohio Bobcats over in Athens, Ohio.
Yep.
West Virginia, both these teams are West Virginia's 1-0, Ohio's 0-1. West Virginia is laying 3 on the road, over under sitting at 59.5. Ohio is catching 3, -112. Ohio is +124 on the money line as a home dog, and West Virginia is -148. Last game on the slate here. Who are you going with?
Yeah, this was the toughest one for me to pick because I mean, being an Ohio guy, just an hour or so north of Athens, like Ohio over the past, I don't know, 5, 6, 8 years has really started to become a pretty good team,
Yeah.
especially within the MAC. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
they're a tough team. They gave Rutgers all that they could handle back on, I believe that was a Thursday game.
Yeah, Thursday or
Um,
Friday. I think Thursday.
but yeah, Rich Rod and the West Virginia Mountaineers really got things rolling in the second half against Robert Morris this past week. I think the West Virginia and all of those transfers that they brought in, they just clicked in the second half, and the way that Rich Rod runs his program and that offense, give me the Mountaineers coming into Athens and taking out the Bobcats.
Not so fast, my friend. Not so fast. Couple things. Do you know who West Virginia plays in week 3?
I do. That would be our Pitt Panthers in the
The
backyard brawl.
backyard brawl is on deck. So absolutely not am I taking West Virginia. I think this is a look ahead spot. They're going to be thinking about the backyard brawl. They obviously came out sleepwalking against Robert Morris. It was 10-3 at half. If you come out in Athens, Ohio, on the road and put on that performance, you're going to get your shit pushed in. Ohio is a team that MAC champions last year. They have a legit quarterback in Parker Navarro. They've got a good coaching staff. Like, they're a solid team. You know, Rutgers is a team that's been a consistent bowl team. We typically don't mind Rutgers. They should have beat Rutgers at Rutgers. So I view West Virginia and Rutgers at a very similar level as far as talent-wise. Now you're going on the road, and now they're catching points. I don't understand how West Virginia is favored in this game. I think it's a little bit of the books are sleeping. They're just assuming, oh, West Virginia, Ohio, they'll take care of the MAC team. Not so fast, my friend. Give me the Ohio Bobcats, +3 home dogs there in Athens, Ohio. Rich Rod, yeah, he's a good coach, but it takes some time for them to learn that system. I don't think everything just got figured out magically. You're playing Robert Morris. Like, come on. There's a huge
and then in the
discrepancy
second
in level
half,
of competition.
in the second half, the refs figured out how to spot the ball and get out of the way, and
Okay.
they started putting up some points.
I don't love the amount you're going for West Virginia, but hey, maybe we're just setting it up for a big letdown the next week. But
Exactly.
I think I think they get upset here. I think they're looking forward, and I think Ohio's a solid squad. So give me Ohio +3 there over at Bet365 -110. All right, my friend, that is the week 2 slate. Now we are going to get into our best bets. We are getting out lock, dog, and a parlay or tease. I will let you start with your best bets for the college football week 2 here. Before we give out these best bets, I will quickly recap our game picks here, and then we will move forward. So in the first game here, you took Illinois, I took Duke. Then in the CyHawk Series, you have Iowa State -3. I have the under in that game, under 41.5. UConn, Syracuse, we are both on UConn as the road dog. Ole Miss at Kentucky, we're both back in the Rebels there. Kansas at Mizzou in the border war, we are both taking Kansas. And then West Virginia and Ohio, we are disagreeing again. You are going with those dirty Mountaineers, and I am backing the MAC team, a real football team in Ohio. You ready for your best bets?
Bring it on.
All right, let me make sure I pull up the correct graphic.
I do appreciate your Ohio love this week, though. I mean, if as long as sooner or later you'll take the scarlet and gray and really be happy with your fandom.
Yeah, you need to relax there. All right, what's your lock for this week?
Yeah, give me the Cyclones. I think that Iowa State has things rolling with Matt Campbell. I think overall, over the last 3 or 4 years, they've gone back and forth. The road teams won. I think each of the last 3 years. I don't think that's going to be the case this year with Iowa State having that extra game in week 0 to kind of get them rolling, get them into midseason form at this point already. Give me the Cyclones as my lock.
Nice.
For my my dog, give me the Kansas Jayhawks in another rivalry game up against Mizzou. Give me them on the money line. And then the teaser that I have for this week, I teased UConn up to +13. I flipped Mizzou to Ole Miss, excuse me. I brought Ole Miss down to -4, and then Kansas up to +12. So UConn to 13, Ole Miss to -4, Kansas up to +12 for +140.
There we go. Nice 6-point teaser there. So yeah, nice. Cyclones has the lock, Kansas is the moneyline dog, and then the teaser there. Yeah. So my lock, UConn +7. Way too many points.
Yeah.
Extraordinarily way too many points there.
Yeah.
I really feel good about them going up to Syracuse and getting out the W, but if you're going to give me 7 points, I'm going to take it all day. So
Sure.
UConn is the lock there with the Huskies taking on Syracuse. The moneyline dog, I'm gonna tell you there, man. I'm gonna go Kansas on the money line +185 over at Bet365 there. Rivalry hasn't been played in a while. Again, they've played 2 games. They've played again. Fresno State, I think, is much better competition than Central Arkansas or whatever that is. Mizzou has a lot to figure out this year, and I don't think they got all their answers that they wanted. They were still having a quarterback battle late in the camp. They were playing both the quarterbacks in week 1, and one of them got hurt. So it's kind of been the Prebula, who was the likely starter, but him by default a little bit. So give me Kansas on the money line, and then my teaser is 6-point teaser here. 4 teams: Duke up to 9, UConn up to +13, Kansas +12, Ohio +9. A nice +240 teaser there. So Duke, UConn, Kansas, Ohio in a 6-point teaser. All the dogs. It's my dog teaser of the week there at plus 240. I will also be giving out a little bit of a DGen parlay. Give me UConn and Kansas on the money line at a plus 783 783.
783
I think I just had a stroke.
plus 783.
I think I
Yeah,
just had a stroke.
you're okay there.
Yeah, so UConn, Kansas on the money line plus 783. I'll throw half a unit on that. I love both these teams. Although they're on the road, I think that they're the better teams,
Yeah.
and I think that that's a crazy price for two of those teams. So, quick recap here. Derek's taking Iowa State as a lock. I am taking UConn. We are both on Kansas as the dog. And then teaser, he likes UConn, Ole Miss, and Kansas in a 6-point teaser for plus 140. I like Duke, UConn, Kansas, and Ohio at plus 240 in a 6-point teaser there. And give me UConn, Kansas money line as a little bit of sprinkle there. So a lot of dogs on this card this week. Feel very good about this week 2 slate. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Not as many marquee matchups per se, TMZ kind of takes, but I think a lot of quietly really good football teams. We're going to find out a lot about some of these teams here. You got anything for the people before we head on out of here?
Yeah, no, I mean, we're going to be doing this college football episode typically on Tuesdays, but because you're moving, we're getting it out a little bit early on Monday night. We're going to be doing our NFL weekly show where we're picking out 4 or 5 games, throwing out a few props along the way. So stay tuned all year long for those 2 shows. As always, we appreciate any likes, subscribes, follows that you're willing to throw out there. Helps us just make sure that, hey, boss doesn't get too upset because he does check into those things to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing and giving out good takes. So again, likes, comments, follows, all of the things.
Yeah. Hey, we are at that beautiful time in the year where we're about to get football almost every single day of the week. And when Maction comes back on, we may be getting it every day of the week. So this is a beautiful, glorious time. It is the start, as Derek was saying. We got college football week 2. We'll be doing our college football picks every single week. The NFL National Football Week is back. We're doing that tomorrow. So excited. So, yes, all your bets needs are going to be here on the DSSG Plus channel. And if you're into fantasy football, check out the IDP Plus channel. Derek and I both do shows over there as well. We talk offense, we talk defense, all the fantasy football needs you could need. And as Derek says, we appreciate any like, comment, subscribes. If you made it this far in the episode, we'd appreciate you if you smash that like button. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you're tailing, what you're fading this week. And let's make some money and have some fun watching the greatest sport in the entire world, and that is football. So
probably the entire universe.
I would stretch that out. Even universe, multiple galaxies. I'm gonna say everything. It's football, baby. All right, from the DGen Doc and Professor Locks here with the DGen Docs at the DFSG Plus channel. We are out of here.